Hi everyone, my name is Stephanie. And before I go into my item for my activity, I just wanted to share something that I really liked from the Plain Nature reading, part of the reading on page 40, how it says that just use what an environment offers a child. So when you think about play, it doesn't matter like what you use. So it doesn't have to be like we also read on the reading commercialized toys, because those usually are seen as a threat to children's natural play. So just by using like a simple item, children can find different ways to use it as like to use it for a lot of things. So like, for example, I found a flashlight. So this is just like a simple item, but children can use or play with this and just use like be creative with it. So let me show you what like some of the ideas that I have for children. So I'm gonna move my laptop a little bit because I need my. So with the flashlight, can you hear me well? Okay. So with the flashlight, children can just place it wherever they want. And then they just need to make sure that they have like a plain black background. And then they can just simply do like, like figures, like, I don't know if you can really see this. But they can use like a dog. I don't know if the shadow's catching up. You can't really, oh, there. Okay, so they can use like a dog or like a butterfly, and then children can be creative and they can do like storytelling. They can come up with their own stories. They can have like siblings or their parents play with them, and then they can create a whole story, just like come up with like animals, like I said, like
Sorry
a.
to interrupt, but I think Lindsay got kicked off.
Yeah.
I think she can join.
Yeah,
She comes
so
back.
if either or one of us can add her back, then good. Sorry for interrupting.
No, it's okay. Oh, there she
She's
is.
back.
Okay. So let me go back a little bit so Lindsay can hear. Okay. So I was saying that with the flashlight, children can use like little animal figures, like a dog, sorry, like a dog or like a butterfly. And they can do storytelling. They can come up with like little characters. They can play with their parents or siblings or friends. And it's also a great way for them to do like mathematical skills like counting, just like, something fun like counting 1, 2, 3. They can also use like literacy, like spelling, like L and O. And it's just like a simple way, but like a fun way for them to be creative and just use like a lot of things. They can even like have someone do like a figure or something on the wall or whatever they're using, and then they can have another child using a piece of paper and trying to like sketch what they're looking at on the wall. So yeah, and this is like they can also like tell stories, and they can just put it on their face, tell like scary stories or things like that, and they can either use it inside or outside. So yeah, I thought this was like really creative. Okay.
Okay, so hi guys, I'm Sarah. So I didn't have much at home, but then I remember an activity and game I did with my mom when I was younger. And so what she did was she helped me make binoculars out of like toilet paper rolls. So this is my end result. Sorry, I'm not very artistic, so it looks kind of childish, but I think it looks cute. But so basically what you do is you get two empty row of the rolls and tape, and you obviously tape them together, and then you can decorate it as you wish, or you could even like put like, I know they sell like cute like tape, right? Like those cute tapes, like there's tape with designs, I've seen them before. So you could even put it like that or just decorate it however you want. And then you can play I Spy with it around the house or even in the backyard and or outdoors. or like what I used to do with my mom was like when she used to put me in the car and we used to go to the groceries, like I would use them like to see out the road and like just view and enjoy the scenery. So with these simple materials, children can have fun playing while working on their imagination and creative play. I know in the reading it stated how a lot of children may not have lots of resources when it comes to play or toys. So I thought it was a simple way and I related it and connected it to page 18 from the reading because it says something along the lines that every type of play from infant peekaboo to catching games for older children contributes to their development and their growing skills. Yes.
So for my activity, it is an educational based play activity. My activity consists of matching, counting, and comparing. I took recycled water bottles and made them into cups. And then I have some Legos here to go ahead and let the child either count the Legos, they can color match the Legos, they can compare the Legos with their colors. I put in different amounts of Legos in this bowl here, so they're different from each other. And the reason I chose this activity is because in the article on page 38, it does talk about educational play, and it talks about it in a way that I felt differently about. It does state that it can take regular play away from children, and I somewhat disagree with that only because it can be fun. The example that they used in the book was not a fun example, and I can understand why they chose to not want to use educational play. But games like this, I can see children drawn to. I hope they would be drawn to it. I liked the colors. And I do know that these are considered to be very small and can be a choking hazard. So if I was with a real child, I would replace the Legos with something else, either bigger, like a bigger ball, or something even possibly edible. So I do understand that this is not appropriate, but it is what I had laying around. So with that being said, I do think that play can be determined by the child. So if the child does this activity for a little while, great. If they don't want to do it at all, I would not push it on the child. I do believe that play should be child driven. And if you're trying to do an educational play activity, the child should definitely want to be interested in that. In the article, I did not like how the teacher didn't allow the children to leave because they didn't want to participate. She made them stay there. And I just think that is not appropriate for children at any age. So that was my activity, and it is an educational based activity.
Okay, so for my activity, I actually did two just because I wanted to touch on cognitive development and dramatic play. So the first one, I collected random paper towel rolls from my home and just created this like, I don't know, what's it called? Like a ball maze, if you will. And you put it up here and at the bottom it catches it. But because the tape is like it's painter's tape, the children could be able to adjust it. And I mean, it could be adapted to like 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds. So the 4 and 5-year-olds can like create their own maze at this point. But the 2-year-olds might find that like, oh, hey, if I put it in this little opening, it also catches it. But if I do it here, it's not going to roll, and it's small enough for them to maneuver. And the reason I wanted to do this one because like the readings were talking about like commercialized play and stuff, and it made me think of how expensive some of these really neat STEAM tools are. One of the favorite toys in like my classroom were Magnetiles, and those they start like at $50 for like a very small set. And some of like really complicated maze tools also run like about $100. And I think about how like inaccessible that is to like lower income children, or just children where they don't like get to experience these type of activities. And I remember as a younger child being fascinated by things like this, like cause and effect. And yeah, I would explore with like pouring water. So I thought that that was interesting. And then like to touch on dramatic play and how children's play with their siblings. I remember an activity that I like to do with my brother was like cook, like mud kitchen type of cooking. And these are materials that I had like lying around in my garden. It's just like dirt, rocks, and some plants. And like to a child, this could be food, it could be like seasoning and stuff like that. So that's how I connected it to the pretend play. And yeah, it's also like tying back into like commercialized play on how like these really neat like Melissa and Doe sets are like crazy expensive. And you don't necessarily need that to get the same effect. Like I didn't have that growing up, and I still was able to pretend, I think, just as well. And then you think of like Reggio and Montessori, and they encourage this. So I thought that was pretty neat.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen for the play discussion now. Okay, so we are group 2, and this is our group play discussion. So for our first question was, how can the full implication of respecting children's right to play become more widely understood? And to that, I think that they could become more widely understood by being taken more seriously by the government and other people. We know that many children are not able to realize their right to play, and this can be due to many reasons. The rights of play can be more understood by addressing and talking about this topic more. I believe that the more it is talked about and the more it is applied, the more positive results people will see from play, and then the more it will become normalized and understood. We know that play provides many opportunities such as self-confidence and imagination, among other things. But until parents and others are able to see this, play is going to be looked over. Play is valuable and will be valued as soon as government laws and policies stop neglecting play. So question number 2 is, what is an appropriate balance between proactive planning for children's play and respecting children's autonomy? I believe that's how you say it, to play without interference. So an appropriate balance would be for teachers and parents to do and plan activities or lessons that let children have a sense and or a form of control. It can be activities that provide independence, but if help is needed, the children will know the teacher or parent is there to help and even guide them in play. So by doing lessons or activities that provide teachers with 50% chance of teaching and the child 50% to explore and play on their own, I believe it gives the perfect balance for teaching and letting children explore and play without interfering.
For question 3, it is, how can the necessary conditions for play be made more widely available to children through effective national policies, child-friendly urban planning, school and playground design? So I found that while reading the article, it is stated that the necessary conditions for play are for children to be free from harmful stress, violence, discrimination, and physical dangers. This really spoke to me because you hope that children never feel those things. So that was really powerful that it was stated in the article. Children must have the required appropriate time and space to play. Children need access to other children as well as natural materials and natural environments. Lastly, children need adults around to support their needs of play and their activities. Conditions for play can be made more available by integrating more play instead of ignoring play. I also really liked that part of the article because you don't think about uh, taking over the child's day with their schedule. You just do it because that's what's expected, and play kind of is in there, but not necessarily as much as it should be. For children to have the opportunities to play, adults need to remove physical, social, economic, and cultural barriers. So, kind of just going back to that first section of the article, also things that children should never have to feel or worry about. They just need to be kids and experience play how they see fit. Um, Within our schools, we need to lessen the time of homework and chores and increase playtime and free time. Children should also have the right to play, rest, and leisure. For question number 4, it goes over what should be the role of adults in supporting, partnering, or regulating young children's play activities in different contexts. The article goes over how children often are viewed as individuals who want to play for fun. Even though this is true, they also want to participate in tasks such as baking a cake, the article goes over, or carrying shopping bags. I found it interesting that the child participates in these tasks so that child can feel a sense of belonging and feel like they have a role in the family life. Adults can support children during these tasks by allowing them to participate and help with what they want to do. Lauren went over in her slides how she lets her daughter go behind her and wipe the window even after she cleans it. Well, even though she's making maybe a bigger mess, she's still allowing her to participate, which is what we should allow children to do. Another context of play can be educational play. That's why I chose my activity. With this, the teacher can have a role and they can have a role in the activity. Um, they can explain the activity and allow the child to experiment and try the task on their own. The teacher can be there for support. The child can be shown examples. The teacher can show what the activity is, what to expect, and even open it up for any questions the child may have. So in that context, the adult then becomes a tool for the child, and that was important for me as well to learn about in the article.
Okay, so I had question 5, which is how far are play theories and educational practices that originate in a relatively affluent Western context applicable in diverse, low resource contexts? So I said that play theories and educational practices can be applied in diverse and low resource contexts for the most part. Um, like while some centers, homes, or areas might not be able to afford the fancy curriculums or the trendy toys like the Montessori toys, which I see a lot on social media, it's like a big thing right now. Um, they can still apply the theory and use the materials that they already have. When we look at curriculums like Reggio, they encourage natural resources, kind of like my activity. And these are things that people already have. You can walk outside and pick up a rock, and to a child, that could be a car, that could be a piece of bread. Um, and they get the same benefit as playing with like a pretend stove. So let's say if I was to put my little terracotta plate on a bigger rock, that could be my stove. And yeah, so for the most part, like covering things like mathematics, science, even reading, and some sort of like language acquisition, that can all be done like very low tech with few resources available. But an implication that I did think about, and that's kind of like where we draw the barrier, is learning about things like diversity and equity. I think that it might be a lot harder for children to learn these types of contexts with lack of resources. There are so many amazing books out there, and unfortunately, not all families can afford them, and not all centers can afford them either. So there's a deficit there. So making resources like that more available, which they are in public libraries, but then we have to think about how far is a public library from the center? How far is it from the home? Some people might have to travel 20 miles just to get to their public library, and that's not reasonable for some families. And also materials like the diverse dolls, those are not cheap, and they do an amazing job like at representing the students, and also like diverse tools to have in the dramatic play area, like morcajete, which is like the mortar, the mortar for like making salsa, which is like in traditional like Latino culture, or maybe having some more like I guess cultural attire that children can explore. Those things, again, they're not just things that people can go out and get. And it's also something that people might not know that is necessary. When I think about my parents' upbringing, they never really thought about diversity because everyone around them looked like them. They grew up in Mexico and everyone was not the same color, but everyone was pretty much the same. And it's like they live in a smaller like box, I guess. And they didn't have like technology, so they can't just look up like, oh, what's critical race theory? So when you get to the States and you're like, whoa, like diversity is like huge here. And yeah, so I noticed that was like an implication for where play theories and educational practices kind of go.
Okay, question number 6. How can awareness of cultural diversity in play be used to inform play provision and early childhood education and care settings? So I wrote that awareness of cultural diversity in play plays an important role when it comes to how children and their families see play. In the reading, it is mentioned how in different parts of the world, play is viewed differently. In most places, such as the United States, play is seen as according to Brooker and Woodhead, the primary medium for learning cognitive, social, and emotional lessons. But in other parts of the world, such as North America and Europe, it is considered the primary occupation. So like Lauren said on the slides, like a lot of children are allowed to play after they do like their chores. So it depends of how they grew up. So recognizing and becoming aware of these cultural differences in the classroom can be used to inform play provision in early childhood education and care settings. And it can help teachers understand the impact of play on their students' development. So question number 7 says, what can be learned from young children themselves about the importance and meaning they attach to their play, and how can this inform policies and practices? So I said, what can be learned from young children about the importance and meaning they attach to their play is how they view play themselves. This reading says that children understand play as activities that they have chosen themselves and that are entirely within their control, according to Brooker and Woodhead. And although there are a lot of variations in which children can use play, they mostly consider play as an opportunity for them to spend time with their friends. And the importance and meaning of play in children is fundamental to their health and well-being. And government policies need to be aware of this because according to the reading, they tend to neglect play. Sometimes they think that like children don't learn as much by playing. So that is why it is important for early childhood educators to advocate play as an essential part in a child's learning and development, and to inform other policies about the opportunities that it brings to children. So that's basically everything. Thank you for listening.